My name is Dr. Andrew Marin, and for 21 years, I was a neurologist at Redwood Memorial Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina. I specialized in disorders of consciousness, coma, vegetative states, minimally conscious states, and the rare, ambiguous spaces between them. I'm not a man prone to superstition or sentimentality. I've always believed the brain, for all its mysteries, follows rules, chemical, electrical, physical. But a single case, in the winter of 2017, fractured that belief in a way I've never fully recovered from. For the first time in my career, I saw something that could not be explained by medicine. And it happened in my own ICU. It started with a patient named Elena Porter, a 33-year-old elementary school music teacher who collapsed during a rehearsal with her students. According to her colleagues, she had been conducting a small choir practice when she suddenly clutched her head, staggered, and fell. Her pupils were dilated by the time paramedics arrived. No trauma, no visible injury, no drugs, nothing obvious. Just an unconscious woman surrounded by terrified children. When she arrived in our emergency department at 3:42 p.m., her vitals were unstable, blood pressure 88/54, pulse erratic, oxygen saturation 86%. Her Glasgow coma scale was 4. I was paged before she even reached CT. The scan revealed a catastrophic aneurysmal rupture of the left middle cerebral artery, with subarachnoid hemorrhage filling nearly every sulcus and ventricle. We rushed her into surgery. The neurosurgeons coiled the aneurysm and evacuated the hematoma, but the damage was massive. Post-operatively, her intracranial pressure remained dangerously high. We cooled her body to 33 degrees Celsius, induced a coma, and waited. Elena never woke up. When the sedatives were withdrawn after 72 hours, her body continued to breathe on its own, but there was no purposeful movement. Her pupils were sluggish but reactive. She had brainstem reflexes, but no cortical signs of awareness. EEG showed bursts of chaotic activity, spikes, waves, then flat stretches like silence between thunderclaps. I'd seen hundreds of cases like this, but there was something subtle that I couldn't quite classify. Her EEG wasn't dead. It wasn't alive either. It was patterned. Not random bursts, not noise. The neurologic text described it as too rhythmic to be nothing. That was the first time I saw the pattern. Every 12 hours, almost to the minute, Elena's EEG displayed a 3-minute series of low-frequency oscillations followed by a rapid, structured pulse, like musical phrasing. When I increased the amplitude, I could swear it resembled the rhythm of speech. We rechecked all equipment. No interference, no crossfeed. The ICU was quiet, yet the waveform persisted. Every 12 hours. Her family, her husband Daniel, and her mother, Ruth, visited daily. Daniel, a high school English teacher, brought flowers and read poetry at her bedside. Ruth, a retired nurse, watched the monitors obsessively. They had the calm of people who refused to grieve until the universe made it official. When I explained her condition, persistent vegetative state, severe cortical injury, limited chance of recovery, Daniel nodded, but I saw something defiant behind his eyes. She taught music, he said softly. If anyone can find rhythm again, it's her. I smiled politely, but I'd learned not to encourage hope where medicine offered none. Still, I couldn't shake the rhythm on the EEG. It wasn't just structure, it repeated. Always 3 minutes, always every 12 hours, precisely offset by half a minute each day, like a clock running against time itself. I recorded samples, cross-analyzed frequencies, even compared them to environmental noise. The result, no match. The signal came from her brain. By day 19, Elena's condition had stabilized. Her body remained strong, good perfusion, healthy respiration, but her brain refused to wake. Daniel insisted she responded to music. He brought her old violin recordings, playing them softly beside her bed. According to him, the EEG spikes increased during certain songs, ones she had performed with her students. I reviewed the logs. He was right. There was measurable activity, brief, but unmistakable, when those specific melodies played. I chalked it up to auditory reflex, preserved through brainstem pathways. But when he played Sleep, Little Sparrow, a lullaby she had written for her students, the monitors did something no reflex could explain. Her alpha and beta waves synchronized. Not random bursts, but a harmony, two frequency bands aligning in symmetrical oscillation, forming what looked like a musical signature. Our tech stared at the screen, speechless. I said, "It's coincidence. The frequencies just happened to align." But even as I said it, my voice felt hollow. I sent the recordings to a colleague at Duke University, Dr. Irene Kovacs, a neuroscientist specializing in brain rhythm interpretation. She called me 3 days later. "Andrew," she said, "your patient's brain isn't dead. It's entrained. That pattern isn't noise, it's reactive encoding." In plain English? "She's not conscious in the traditional sense," Irene said, "but her auditory cortex is processing structured sound and echoing it back in a pattern consistent with recognition." "You're saying she's aware?" "I'm saying," she paused, "her brain recognizes her own music." That night, I didn't sleep. On hospital day 26, something new happened. The 12-hour rhythm returned, but the waveform changed. It wasn't the simple 3-minute pattern we'd seen before. It expanded, stretched to nearly 5 minutes, with amplitude rising sharply during one section. I overlaid the signal on an audio timeline from the day before. It matched exactly with the time Daniel had visited and played her recordings. He had sung to her, too badly off-key, by his own admission. And yet the waveform looked alive. I began calling the pattern the silent choir. On the morning of February 14th, the ICU nurse paged me at 6:12 a.m. "Dr. Marin," she said breathlessly, "you need to come see Elena Porter." My first thought was cardiac arrest. When I arrived, the nurse was standing frozen at the foot of the bed. Elena's eyes were open, not darting or random focused. "Miss Porter," I said, moving closer. "Can you hear me?" Her pupils tracked my voice. She blinked once, twice, then her lips parted, dry and trembling. Her voice came out as a broken whisper. Where are my students?" The nurse gasped audibly. I felt my knees weaken. "Miss Porter," I managed, "you've been very sick. You're in the hospital." She blinked rapidly, confusion flooding her face. "How long?" "Several weeks," I said carefully. Did they finish the song?" That's how it began. The 32 hours of impossible consciousness that would destroy my faith in neurology. She was fully aware, or seemed to be. She recognized her husband, her mother, even remembered her classroom. But she had no recollection of the aneurysm, the collapse, or the intervening month. She was articulate, logical, even witty. She spoke about her students, about the spring concert she was planning, as though time had stopped the moment she fell. She said something that still haunts me. When I woke up, she told me, I heard music. Faint, far away. Like a choir down a long hallway. I think they were calling me back. Her MRI that day showed no change. The dead tissue remained, the scarring identical. No new perfusion, no metabolic shift on PET imaging. Her brain was as broken as it had been 3 weeks before. And yet she was conscious. Entirely conscious. For the first 6 hours after Elena woke, the ICU transformed from quiet vigilance to organized chaos. Specialists came in waves, neurologists, neurosurgeons, neuropsychologists, all trying to confirm the impossible. I ran repeated Glasgow Coma Scale evaluations, eye-opening, verbal response, motor control. She scored 14 out of 15. A week earlier, she'd been a 3. By mid-morning, the story had spread through the hospital. Residents peeked through the glass. Nurses whispered outside her door as if they were in church. Daniel held her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm, tears glinting on his face. She turned to him. "You look older," she said softly. He laughed through the tears. "You've been asleep, Al." Her reply was quiet but chilling. Not asleep. Just stuck between songs. When I reviewed the EEG from the hour before she woke, the rhythmic pattern had shifted again. The 3-minute motif dissolved into something chaotic, then abruptly coalesced into structured 40 Hz gamma bursts, the frequency most associated with consciousness. But the part that unsettled me most wasn't the rhythm, it was the harmonic overlay. A secondary band appeared faintly beneath the gamma peaks, repeating a slow oscillation at 1.5 Hz, the frequency of a human heartbeat. Except it wasn't hers. Her heart rate at the time was 87. The second rhythm pulsed steadily at 61. There was no monitor, no machine, no external device producing that frequency. The signal came from inside her skull. By late afternoon, Elena began to tire. She was speaking less, though still oriented and calm. She asked repeatedly to see her students. When told she'd been unconscious for weeks, she became thoughtful, almost serene. "I knew it," she whispered. "When I heard them singing, I tried to count how many voices there were. It sounded like 2. I noted her words verbatim in the chart. At 7:46 p.m., the EEG erupted. Every lead spiked simultaneously, producing a brilliant white saturation on the monitor. Alarm screamed. Her vitals held steady, but the brainwave amplitude was off the scale. Then it stopped. All the leads flatlined for exactly 12 seconds. And in that 12 seconds, Elena smiled. Not a reflex. A smile of recognition. She whispered something that the nurse, Angela, swore sounded like, "I can hear you." Then her eyes rolled back and she convulsed. We intubated within 30 seconds, administered Ativan and mannitol, checked every lead and airway. Her vitals stabilized, but consciousness never returned. Repeat MRI showed no new bleed, no infarct, no change from the previous scan. Everything looked the same. And yet she was gone again, back into silence. Daniel refused to leave her bedside. He kept playing the recordings of her choir over and over, hoping for the slightest movement. Nothing. At 3 a.m., precisely 8 hours after her seizure, the rhythm returned on the EEG, 3 minutes of structured oscillation, then stillness. The hospital board ordered a case review. By then, Elena had been declared in a persistent vegetative state for the second time. Her spontaneous awakening, transient reemergence of consciousness, in medical jargon, defied explanation. I presented the data to the neurology department, identical imaging before and after, no metabolic recovery, no neural reconnection that could justify what we'd witnessed. Dr. Kovacs from Duke arrived 2 days later. We replayed the EEG data together in the lab. After 15 minutes of silence, she said, "It's responsive resonance." What's that supposed to mean? She leaned closer to the monitor. If you map this onto a spectrogram, it's not random spikes, it's harmonics. She's synchronizing to an external source. External what? Music? Maybe, she said. Or someone. I stared at her. You're telling me she's communicating? I'm saying she was never alone. Over the following week, I became obsessed with the data. I compared each waveform from her first coma to those from her brief awakening. The 12-hour intervals were exact to the second, each beginning at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m., the same times Daniel had been visiting since her admission. He'd unknowingly built a rhythm around her. Every 12 hours, his voice was her clock. On February 20th, the second EEG anomaly occurred. The monitor displayed overlapping frequencies, a duet. 2 distinct sources of brain activity, one originating from Elena's own cortical channels, the other mirroring it with slight delay, as if something were echoing her. Angela whispered, "It's like someone's singing back." We traced every device, ventilator, monitors, infusion pumps, all normal. At 3:03 a.m., the echo stopped, leaving only a single heartbeat on the screen, 61 beats per minute. Daniel's heart rate, recorded on the visitor monitor he wore for post-surgical tachycardia follow-up. The 2 signals were identical. I didn't tell him. 2 weeks later, Elena died. A sudden arrhythmia during the night. We couldn't revive her. She was 33. Daniel was in the room when it happened. He said she took a single breath, opened her eyes, and whispered, "It's beautiful," in the hallway. Then flatline. Her EEG continued recording for 90 seconds after clinical death. The waveform rose sharply once, then faded into a pattern I can only describe as a slow descending melody. The autopsy was unremarkable. No new hemorrhage, no embolus, no infection. just the old scarred frontal lobe and the delicate thread of a coiled aneurysm. I kept her EEG data for months, analyzing it night after night in my office until the hospital IT department deleted it to free storage. But I remember every pattern by heart. I could hum it if you asked. People call it the song of the brain. To me, it's a choir singing from the dark. After her death, Daniel donated her violin to the hospital music program. It sat in the rehab ward for months until one afternoon the bow snapped clean in two without being touched. The security footage showed nothing, just the bow lifting slightly and snapping midair. The nurse who found it said she'd heard a note first. A single A string sustained for 3 seconds. No one else heard it. I left Redwood Memorial 6 months later. I told the board I was taking a position in teaching, but the truth was I couldn't walk past room 14B without hearing that note in my head. I moved to a smaller clinic in the mountains. General neurology, mostly migraines and sleep disorders. Simple brains. Quiet ones. But every so often, a patient under sedation will hum unconsciously, and my hands start to shake. 2 years later, I received a package from Irene Kovacs. Inside was a flash drive labeled Porter_final.wave and a note. Andrew, you need to hear this before you decide what you believe. The file was 6 minutes long. When I opened it, I heard a faint hum beneath the EEG recording. At first it sounded like feedback. Then I recognized it. Children's voices. Dozens of them. Singing in unison. Sleep, little sparrow. At the 3-minute mark, a second voice joined in, a man's. Hoarse, off-key, trembling. Daniel's. Then silence. I called Irene immediately. She sounded unsteady. I don't know what it means, Andrew. We filtered out all external frequencies. That choir, those voices, are inside the EEG bandwidth. Artifact? Not a chance. I listened again that night in the dark, headphones pressed tight, and this time I noticed something I had missed before. After the final chord, someone whispered 3 words barely audible through the static. We heard you. I tried to rationalize it for months. Compression error, cross-modulation, pareidolia. But the pattern was too precise, the harmonies too clean. I brought it to an audio engineer friend in Raleigh. He analyzed the spectral data and shook his head. These aren't random frequencies. They line up like notes on a scale. It's a recording of something, just not anything I can explain. He looked at me like I was crazy and said, whatever this is, it's alive in there. A year later, I met Daniel for coffee. He looked better, older, quieter, but steady. He'd moved back to Asheville and was teaching again. I almost didn't bring it up, but he beat me to it. She visits sometimes, he said casually, stirring his cup. I thought he meant dreams. Then he added, when I grade papers, I hear them humming in the hall. Your students? He smiled faintly. No, the kids she taught. I didn't respond. What was there to say? When we left, he hugged me and whispered, she was never alone, you know. After that conversation, I stopped analyzing the data and started listening to it like music. I'd sit at my desk and play the EEG audio through a spectral synthesizer, letting the patterns convert into sound. Each session was different, but always at minute 12, the melody resolved into a major chord so beautiful it made my chest ache. Sometimes I swore I heard a woman's voice beneath it, soft and distant. Count with me, children. I never could bring myself to record those sessions. In 2021, a team from Duke published a paper referencing the Porter case. They called it Transient Consciousness and Auditory Cortical Entrapment Following Massive Cerebral Injury. It won awards. They used my data but stripped it of the anomalous audio, calling it non-replicable artifact. That's how science protects itself from truths it can't measure. I didn't blame them. If I hadn't heard it myself, I'd have called it impossible to. Last month, I received an email from a neurology resident at Redwood. She'd been assigned to archive old EEG data and found a file with my name on it. Dr. Marin. I don't mean to bother you, but one of the files seems to contain an audio signal. It plays a melody. Did you add this? I didn't respond. She emailed again 2 days later. It happens every 12 hours. Always starts at 3 o'clock. Is that normal? It's been 5 years since Elena Porter died, and I still hear her choir. Sometimes at night, when the mountain air is so quiet you can hear the blood in your own ears, I swear there's music under the silence. A 3-minute harmony, then stillness. And somewhere beneath it all, a heartbeat that isn't mine.